And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because I've been tired. I've been exceptionally tired, way exceptionally tired, because it has been hot, muggy, it has been humid, and it has been overwork season. So I literally woke up an hour ago after spending a good portion of the day asleep. Again. So if I'm a little off, if I'm a little scatterbrained, trust me, I'm a lot better than I was when I took a nap, again earlier today. And part of this is to follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble, and you can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. Shujin. Hi. Gonna get it out of the way right now. Tech will not be with us tonight, not for any other reason other than he has an obligation that he's doing. It has nothing to do with what's going on in the news. Want to go ahead and just belay that possible worry for everybody right off the bat. From the Midwest of the U.S., Brigid Fitch is here, finally. Welcome back. And
I'm
how well
here.
dried out are you?
Finally dried out, not needing to do the snorkel thing, and it's a nice, crisp 30C with the heat index of 34C here. So break out the parkas.
30C? Parka? What?
Well, it's supposed to get up to like 36C later this week, so cold snap.
Uh-huh. 30 is a cold snap. That's not
Well, I
good.
mean, it was like 35 earlier today, so this yeah, it's a little nippy in comparison.
Okay. Meanwhile, I just pulled up, by the way, not a sponsor of the show, but the official weather bureau for Holy Crap, the Vlogcast is openweathermap.org, which currently shows Buffalo at 26.
Oh,
Nice.
yeah,
I should put that as a major thing for us.
you need a blanket.
And on the left coast, Io Cloud. Hi. Good evening. It's that time, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yesterday when I got off that show, I ended up quite heat sick and it was not good as because we've lost our AC. It's either the AC itself or the vents somehow have closed. So no cool air is getting through. Not good.
No.
Today I went driving. I went to a gaming store because today was free RPG books day or free RPG games day all over. I managed to walk out with 3 new RPGs to try. Not the one I wanted because there was only one copy left, but that's neither here or there. A couple new sets of dice, a new fig slash pin that I can wear, which is a gargoyle, which is cool. And then I went to D&D, and it was fun. We've got a new guy, and 2 of our previous guys had to quit because other obligations. And the new guy, he's funny. He's funny. That's all I can say. It's currently 18 Celsius where I am. A lot cooler than it was yesterday, and I hope it stays cool because I've told my other half that if it's as hot tomorrow as it was Friday in the office, he's not allowed to do his show because I don't want him to suffer heat stroke. Because for him, it would be fatal.
That would be unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm going back tomorrow for another session, different game, and the guys are waiting. And they missed me.
Well,
And I could say one thing. I missed you, Bridget, Bridget, Bridget,
Oh,
Bridget, Bridget,
this is true.
Bridget.
This is very true.
Yeah, I've bitched about you not being here.
oh, I'm sorry. Oh.
Shouldn't be. She had to put up with me. Wait.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then you had to put up with me.
Yes. It's not so bad. I mean, I don't have aphantasia, so you tell me, yeah, I'm staying cool by stripping naked. That's something I can work with.
Never mind.
People don't know what aphantasia is. It's okay. I didn't know until relatively recently before either. Aphantasia, here you go. Close your eyes and picture a beautiful, delicious red apple. If you have aphantasia, you can't do that. The rest of you are what are otherwise referred to as normal, or typical, or whatever the term would be at this point.
And there's degrees of it. Some can picture the apple, but they can't picture the red. Or they can only picture it as a two-dimensional image. Me, I don't have to close my eyes.
You've got an apple right there, don't you?
No.
Oh.
I can literally see an apple because I want to see an apple.
Fair enough. So, as always, everybody, thank you very much. Good to have you with us. And if you'd like to be joining us as we're recording live, you can be part of the live chat over there, which, Stephanie, good morning, or morning. Yeah, there's stuff in the news, and we will end up touching on part of it because I can't see how we couldn't. Because, I mean, come on. For those of you that are maybe outside of the time frame and are kind of wondering what in the hell is going on, don't worry. Wait till the end of the video for the surprise ending. Or the ending. See where that takes us. Otherwise, let me go ahead and get everything rolling over here because we got to get moving because I need to jumpstart my head and we'll just find out just how much this coffee is going to help me out over here. So, with 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle is here. In this case, it's conspiracies. And this is inspired by somebody that I spoke to recently. There is an adage that says, it's only a conspiracy theory if you're wrong. And I get that. It's cute. It's a way of, making people who have these outlandish ideas maybe feel silly about it. Maybe put them aside. And, well, there are certain conspiracy theories that we can easily prove they're just wrong. The idea of the Earth being flat. We can prove this. Many, many times over, we can prove this. We can prove with no... With no, it was proven thousands upon thousands... Well, maybe not thousands upon thousands, but thousands of years ago by using just 2 sticks and a sunny day. They're the outlandish ones that are just for fun, like birds aren't real. Birds are a psyop, man. They're out there collecting data by the government, man. They're not real. Look at them. You gonna tell me that they're some kind of evolved dinosaur? Nah, man. Evolved dinosaurs are what we put into the oven when we want to go ahead and have ourselves some meal when we're kids. Yeah, I get it. It's cute. It's funny. It's for a quirky laugh. There's some where you have to just listen to what the theory is and just kind of go, that's silly, man. That's hold on a minute, because there are items out there that are just too weird. They're too out there for them to be wrong. They're the kind of things that have to kind of circle around where it's like, nah, man, that would never be the case, but you've still got data points that kind of fit the bill of what you're talking about. Now, obviously, just having data points, anecdotal information, I don't even want to call it data at that point, it can point you towards, well, in a lot of cases, could point you to almost anything. And, sometimes it's fun. I mean, that's the basis for a lot of comedy. actual, like, legit comedy. But there are times where you have to look at the stuff and you kind of go, okay, wait a minute. Are you sure about how that all works together? I get that. Hell, I've got a small YouTube channel on exactly that kind of thing, where my brain has suddenly come up and said, hey, what about these particular items? Why do they fit together when they otherwise officially don't? It's got to be the same way that some people at first looked at the whole thing about tectonic plate activities. You know, this landmass seems to fit into this landmass if you just squish them together. Nah, that can't be the case. That's wrong. You're absolutely out of your... Wait, they do fit together, don't they? Huh. Well, that can't be right. There's got to be something in between that's... Oh, there is. Huh. So, when we look at stuff, as humans, we need to look at these items with a very different critical eye. We need to look at stuff and we need to realize that humans are flawed in a very, very specific way, amongst others. Our brains are pattern-matching mega brains. We see things where most other animals wouldn't. And I say that from the standpoint of, I can't be entirely certain, but what other animal just lays back, looks at the clouds in the sky and says, that looks like something. That looks like something. This looks like something. We do that because it's fun. We do that because it's a survival trait. So when we look at stuff and we see connections where maybe otherwise there wouldn't be, take a few extra moments and really, really examine what is the connection? What brings it all together? Is there actually a data point that is the locus of all of these pieces that are intentionally pulling it all together? Because if you find one, maybe you actually are onto something. As far as to what prompted that, like I said, I had talk with somebody recently. I'm not going to go into the who or the what, but I will go as far as to say they had some interesting things to say. Some I kind of poo-pooed in my own head, and other stuff where it's just like, well, no, wait a minute. Point of order, Your Honor. What? We've always got that one person that we talk to, that really is kind of, wow, all right. I don't know what to say. So, for my inspirational person, who most likely will not be seeing this, thanks. I'm with you 85% of the way. But I'm not completely sold. But you got me starting to think about stuff, so thank you. Thank you about that. Otherwise, it's going to be time for the horrible scopes, so I'm about to flashbang everybody because of the white screen. There it is. So for those of you who know what your astrological sign is, cool. Those of you that don't, you can just make it up as go along. It doesn't really much matter. If you would like to make it a little bit more entertaining for yourself, of course, you can always see about getting one of those D12s from the nice guys over there at Heart of the Game Fredonia. The ones with the little astrological squiggles on them. Because, why get your own horrible scope when you can pick up somebody else's and abscond with them on your own? That's Heart of the Game Fredonia. Hail, hail, Fredonia, home of the Blue Devil. They still like us. And they may or may not have a... I'm pretty sure the Mimic is still in the window waiting because it's not yet time for the new students to come into the school district. So, kind of got to wait. So, following up on the hooves of last week's Scopes, we are taking you out after your summer workday, and what better way than with dinner and a movie? Which, now that you have discretionary capital, you are going to be paying for, and you're going to be doing this at the movie theater itself. So, why go to Red Robin for burgers? And you can just go to the theater, get a nacho dog and a bladderbuster, and sit in a recliner chair, and watch the previews. So, what movie are we sending you out to see? Well, let's check out the summer blockbuster list and find out what's playing, shall we? Aries. If you're ready to be terrified of a computer-generated voice and computers literally screaming back and forth at each other, then you're going to love this hacker-themed flick. Being re-released, just to show up the rebooted version, we're sending you off to see a young Matthew Broderick, Ali Sheedy, and Dabney Coleman in 1983's techno-thriller War Games. So this week, remember that 3 years earlier, Dabney Coleman was hanging from the ceiling in a makeshift bondage harness because he wanted to bang Dolly Parton with his stick. You can imagine whatever you want from that description. We won't judge you. That is an apt description of the scene that I had to research. You're welcome.
Doris, proving that some franchises can actually be reworked and brought back, your film is 2014's Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. The most intriguing part of this collection is realizing that the leading simian by the name of Caesar never read any Shakespeare, so doesn't know what happened to his namesake. So this week, learn to appreciate what you have. After all, we're not making you sit down and watch the original Planet of the Apes cartoon series, right? Or are we?
The newer Planet of the Apes stuff was actually filmed on Vancouver Island. Some of the outdoor scenes. It's very wild in parts. Gemini. When one man can't figure out who he really is, he decides to go on a walkabout. But since everyone is trying to kill him, he decides to do that first. Welcome to the opening credits for 2007's The Bourne Ultimatum. You'll be swept away as Jason travels through Russia to Europe and Northern Africa, all while playing the ultimate game of tag. So this week, we know you want to watch Megamind again, but this one is so much better. Just try it out.
Ken's Moonchild, proving that the term Silver Fox still applies to him after the disastrous, I'd like to underline the word disastrous, Batman and Robin joined George Clooney as the most successful bank robber in the country in 1998's Out of Sight. Obviously, the experience of being Batman helped him learn to steal money effectively. So this week, the bat suit had nipples. Robin's suit had nipples. Now, without looking it up, did Batgirl's costume have nipples? Watch the end of the video for the surprise ending.
Leo. At the end of the 20th century, an undercover team from a semi-governmental secret agency are scouring New York City to apprehend an intergalactic thief who will stop at nothing to return with his prize. Welcome to the buddy cop summer blockbuster known simply by its initials MIB. So this week, before you saw what happened in the movie, did you know that an 8-track tape could play upside down? We're guessing you didn't know one way or the other before. Imagine what you'll learn tomorrow.
Just so everybody knows, Batgirl's costume was supposed to have nipples. Virgo, your movie came out in 1988, but the best tribute song had to wait almost 20 years to come out because, as someone once said, we weren't ready for it then, but our kids were going to love it. Your film is the first movie of 3 in a Santa suit. And it is a Christmas movie. Die Hard! I don't care what the actor says, it's a Christmas movie. So this week, if you get invited out to a friend's oceanside property for a weekend of entertainment, you know what to say. Just say no.
I'm actually really glad that Discord did not clip you off with how loud you were then. Thank you, Discord. We appreciate it.
I was loud?
Libra, it's hard to remember that when we say your movie was big, we're not describing it. We're naming it. Tom Hanks is the adult version of a young boy who wishes he was big and has his wish granted. The story is charming, the humor is both innocent and juvenile, and it'll help you remember what it was like to be young again. So this week, if nothing else, imagine that this must be what life for Billy Batson is like when he yells, Shazam! Except without the whole invulnerability thing.
Scorpio. There aren't many films where the second one is better than the first, but this time you got it. And it even comes in a properly hyphenated title, taking us to 2004's sequel, Spider-Man 2, aka we are so getting Bruce Campbell as Mysterio for the next villain. So this week, yeah, we're getting Bruce Campbell in the next Spider-Man movie anytime now. Anytime.
Yep.
If you hear me make a scream out of nowhere, it's because the fireworks have started for the 4th of July and have been going off for at least a week. And some of them are very legal. Some of them, not so much. Plus, Disney will be starting off their fireworks in about a minute. And I've got a window open for airflow. Anyway, Sagittarius. We're not going to sugarcoat this one. Your film could have been done with some additional title work. You know, like adding the terms super or hard to the title. But no, yours is simply titled Spy from 2015. It's a story of what happens when someone who works a desk job is suddenly thrown into the real world and tries to fend for themselves. So this week, if the synopsis sounds a little much like we're describing a college graduate trying to get a summer job, yeah, you're absolutely right. Well done. Would you like fries with that? Would you like to make it a large? Would you like to make it a meal?
I mean, it's America, kind of obligatory at that point, isn't it? Capricorn, if we told you that your family-friendly blockbuster has the beginnings of an oral sex scene in it, would you believe us? How about if the secondary villain gets utterly covered in white splooge? Well, it's all real. In 1984's Ghostbusters. Totally not based on the original Saturday morning TV series, and the theme song is totally not based on a different song. Nope, not at all. So this week, can you imagine if John Belushi had lived long enough to be in this movie? Maybe Blues Brothers 2000 would never have been made.
Hey, I like 2000.
What do you do when Jack Nicholson doesn't want to come back to reprise one of his most famous roles? So what happens when that has nothing to do with this sequel movie? This time it's 2012's The Dark Knight Rises, the finale to the Nolan Batman movie franchise, right before that overpowered alien rampage through Metropolis. So this week, even with this well-received movie, nothing could help us from groaning when the identity of Robin was just thrown out there for no reason. Boo on you, Nolan.
Which Robin was it? Was it Todd what's his name, or Richard Grayson, or who?
I don't remember, and truthfully, I don't care. I'm so annoyed.
Pisces. Last but not least, just proving that you can get lost and have an amazing road trip with Grandma, let's head out to one of the most despised actors in Hollywood in 1983's National Lampoon's Vacation. If you want to go to an overpriced theme park that'll likely be closed by the time you get there, try heading out to Action Park in New Jersey. So this week, we're apparently now legally required to read the following. The staff of the Horrible Scopes takes no responsibility for anyone who decides to try their luck at the location derisively referred to as Traction Park. Please do not ride the loop-de-loop water slide. Thank you.
That was a real place. And that was a real description. And
I
that
can
was a
believe it
real
because I can believe it because I've been going by lots and lots of parks that are closed.
Those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, if you like what you got, you're a weirdo, and yes, we are going to go ahead and we are going to judge you for that. I won't judge myself because I'm me. If you'd like something nicer or naughtier for yourself or someone else, you can always bribe me, or literally bribe me directly with money by heading on over to the Ko-fi page. Ko-fi.com/Icarus the Lunar Guard. I'll have these posted at the end of the week, as usual. Tumblr, Facebook, Ko-fi, Discord, BlueSky. I actually got all of the reposts correct this time, in the correct order, which was kind of impressive when I think about it, because I usually have to follow my checklist really, really exactingly, otherwise I don't get to it. This time I did it well. This is episode 539 on the docket, Your Honor. Be mad. Do crimes with heretic woman's scare quotes. If there's one thing that we know here in the United States, and it's been quoted many, many times, and usually misquoted from all over the world, First Amendment right basically is the right that we can speak. It's been often referred to as the free speech clause, but that's kind of a little bit of a misnomer. There are a number of pieces about it. That we're allowed to congregate, peacefully assemble, to petition the government for redress of grievances, to have a free press, to not be censured in what we say by the government, within some very specific guidelines. But that includes protests in various different forms, whatever they might be. So when the government suddenly comes up and says things like, for instance, any protesters to the 250th anniversary / birthday parade / birthday parade for me will be met with the, well, actually at that point, considering that it's a threat, a very illegal threat, I don't think that we've got very much of anything else that we need to say about that. So when people are being threatened with being arrested and prosecuted, not going to say persecuted, prosecuted for exercising a completely legal right, which includes, might I also add, throwing up the middle finger at the police in public on public sidewalks. That is legal here. You are allowed to do that, regardless of what they might say and their little butthurt feelings. What do you do when suddenly that is considered treasonous or in bad taste enough that you should be locked up, or whatever other grandiose things they want to trumpet out? See what I did there? So we're gonna have just a little bit of discussion on this, because over the 200 plus years that this country's been around, the understanding of the First Amendment for protests and whatnot is a relatively recent thing as far as the health and well-being of our country is concerned. So some of the stuff is relatively new, like I said, legally speaking. It doesn't change the fact that it's incredibly powerful. So let's start off with the easy thing, Brigid. Since you had been MIA, so to speak, because you wanted to try to figure out what it was like for Ken Ham and his Ark Encounter tours over there. You, I'm assuming, did hear about the whole parade and protests on the same day.
Sure did. And hate to bust out the dudes that were marching and stuff, but yeah, they were protesting when they were marching. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I saw some clips. And if you want to think of malicious compliance, there it was.
Please
I could
do.
tell.
Please do go into much more detail than that, because otherwise I'm going to have to start talking about my high school marching band, and nobody needs to hear this part.
Like within your first 3 weeks in basic training, boot camp, whatever it is, you learn how to line up in formation and you march every freaking where. And you run in step every freaking where. And so by the time that you get out, you cannot get out of step. It is so ingrained into you that you can't do it. And this slop that I saw going on, I could tell from looking at some of the faces that they were trying so hard to not be in step. I mean, it's not only that it looked like they were shuffling or just walking, but I could tell from looking at some of their faces they were struggling to only shuffle and walk and not be in step. It took some effort. So I was like, you go. That was totally on purpose. And I can tell you, having been out as long as I have, I still stay in step with whomever I'm walking with. It's just a habit. It is hard to get out of, trust me.
Oh, I can believe it. And for what it's worth, one of the stories that one of the chapters, one of the stories I was working on, it's an infectious thing the way that I wrote it, so that you don't realize that you're even doing it until all of a sudden, oh wait, we're actually on opposite step, and you kind of shuffle step, hop step in order to get into the right, because it just feels right then.
Mm-hmm.
So, Io, as the local Canuckistanian whose military is smaller than ours and not arguably better trained than ours, what was it like for you to be able to see little clips and whatnot of what our boys looked like?
I could tell from the moment I saw how they were marching that they were protesting somehow. And then reports came in from all over the place that yes, it was a form of malicious compliance. They had to do that parade march. They didn't have to march in parade fashion. They had to walk it. They had to do it. But they didn't want to do it. And even the pissed off bartender mentioned that one of the people with some rank saluted with his left hand.
Oh, I did not see that.
I didn't see that, but I did see where they called for eyes right, and eyes right did not happen.
So I've actually found the pissed off bartender rant where he mentioned, I think it's the one where he mentioned it. I did not listen to the entire thing because with the salute with the left hand made me laugh to the point where I could not listen to anything else he was saying. It's just,
you don't do that.
Nope.
Holy shit.
Malicious compliance within the armed forces is a couple of different ways. One of them is you follow the rules that have been set before you, right down to the letter of them. Even if it against what you were told to do. Or you follow what you're told to do right down to the minuscule little curly cues that your commanding officers have told you to do, even if it breaks the rules.
Yeah.
I've listened to so many stories from the military, or read so many stories from the military, where they're given this one little task, and they spend 3 to 4 weeks doing that task to perfection. Something like cleaning off a sign. And it's not a sign like a sign on the side of the road. It is one of those signs that's a rock that's got the metal sign, bronze plaque on it and all that. One guy was told to clean it, and he had everything perfect around it, but it took him 3 weeks. And it was his last 3 weeks that he was in the armed forces. I remember this. It's like a couple years old. I don't know who it was, but I was laughing. The best view of malicious compliance in media, and there's 2 of them. MASH, the motor pool guy, I forget his name.
Oh, Rizzo. I think it was Rizzo.
Yeah, Rizzo or something like that. Yeah. He was always in the motor pool, but he was sleeping. And the other one is Stripes. When they go to formation at the end of their basic training. Tell me that isn't malicious compliance, Brigid. Tell me.
No, you're
Where
right.
you guys been? Training, sir.
What kind of training, officer?
Army training, sir.
Army training, sir. Oh my God, that's too true. And yes, I did pull it up. It was Rizzo. It was where is it? Over here, lieutenant, and then eventually Wait, he was a lieutenant? Oh no. That was in police academy. Sorry, staff sergeant. Staff Sergeant Luther Rizzo? He was a staff sergeant?
He was high enough that he had rank.
Yeah.
But not too high that he was an officer type.
Right, because as a sergeant, you are an enlisted person. You are outranked by any rank officer, technically.
Mm-hmm.
Even butter bars.
Which, for those that don't know what that means...
Second lieutenant.
Yeah. The guys that have just come out of officer school. Those are the best show of media of malicious compliance within the armed forces that I can think of right now. I could probably do some research and whatnot to find more things. But yeah, the pissed off bartender, he mentioned that somebody saluted with their left hand. And it's just, kudos to the armed forces. They had to do this. They had to do that parade route. They were going to be hurt if they did it. They were going to be hurt if they didn't do it. And they're going to be hurt because they did it, because they didn't do it the proper way. But maybe the brass is going to say, you know what? We understand the protest. We get it.
I haven't heard of any ramifications to them for this at all.
Good.
I mean, I know that Ciolini is pissed that he didn't get the correct tone, for what he wanted. He wanted, like North Korea or something, and that's not what he got.
I think he wanted the goose stepping with the foot kicked up in the air and stomped down in the walk. Yeah, no.
I mean, he wanted like that, and this was not even close to that.
No, and all the better. Okay, as what I was joking about before about my high school marching band, we were good. I want you guys to know that. And I'm not saying that from the standpoint of, back in my heyday, back in high school. I mean, yeah, I did have a couple of moments back in high school that were absolutely, for me, musically astounding. But we were in competitions. We went outside of our state for a couple of them. And we also saw at some of these other competitions some groups that were absolutely light years beyond us. And that is no small feat for me to be able to say that, because they were good. And we're talking high school kids under 18 years old who had the precision of a clock. And I do not say that lightly. Kids who are traveling with trumpets and mellophones, where a metal cup is pressed up against your lips, which is pressed up against your teeth, who are interweaving as they're marching without looking and passing past each other, not clocking each other and needing dental surgery after. What I saw of these guys made me look at it and go, oh my God, that's like worse than Port Jeff once upon a time ago. Because, you know,
Yeah.
you can have the uniform and you can play the music and you can walk from one place to another, but I mean, how do you play music and not keep the beat with your feet? That I just and saluting with a left hand.
Yeah,
no.
that was an honored bird too.
Oh no!
So
Oh no! You
I
don't do
can
that.
march.
And in marching bands, all marching bands, and I think this goes for the military as well. Everyone steps off with your right foot. Now, I point this out because I've said this before. There is one band, and one band only, that I know of, at the highest of competitions, who intentionally starts... Sorry.
Left foot. You start with the left foot.
Start with the left. Sorry, I'm getting confused in my head. Where they start off with the right. And that is the New Jersey Garfield Cadets. They are the only ones that start off on their right. They're the only ones. And you would never know it if you weren't specifically looking for it, because they are that good. They step off, they're on their way, and everyone is the same. They're still uniform. But unless you're looking for it, you're going to look at it and you kind of go, there's something, what's wrong?
Different here.
It's
something's
weird.
different here.
All right, well, you know, whatever. It's got to be nothing.
I've never actually been in a parade marching, but so many parades. I sat about a block from where I lived when I was in Vancouver. Every year, this one city in Vancouver would have a parade for the May Day long weekend. And we would see all these military and fire trucks and schools and high schools. They would all be marching, and it was all perfect. And even though most of these were amateurs, they were drilled, because most of these were civilians. What they were doing on that parade route in that city on that day, like I said, kudos to the armed forces. Kudos for showing a way to protest what they were doing because they were forced to do it.
And who
Kudos.
chose the music? That's what I want to know.
Don't know.
Because Fortunate Son is a rather odd song for a parade, I think.
Don't know.
I mean, I would have chosen Stacked Like Pancakes 45, but that's my favorite protest song about taco. The other one is, I think his name is Cole Redding, American Dream. Also a protest song, but not the same type of protest song. Protest about how the American dream is now unattainable.
And so many of these people just do not recognize that Bruce Springsteen's song Born in the USA is itself a protest song.
So is the song War by him too. War, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing.
That wasn't Springsteen.
Say it again.
That was... Damn it, I have the song and I can't remember who the hell it was. I know it wasn't Bruce Springsteen. He may have done a cover of it.
I'm in the wrong thread. I had it up earlier.
It says him.
It's not his, though.
Oh,
Who originally did that? Hold on.
okay, yeah, it says he did cover it. And he covered it because it was a protest against the Reagan administration's aggressive foreign policy in Central America.
There it is. Edwin Starr.
Temptations. The Temptations. Was originally recorded by the Temptations, followed by a version of Edwin Starr. But I would do Bruce Springsteen because he's come out completely against what Taco's doing.
There's that. It's
but
effectively...
you also have to, but you also have to take in consideration sheet music and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
True.
So.
True. I do believe that Bruce would be on board for anybody using his version.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's already gone ahead and he's publicly said, you guys don't realize that what you're doing is you're playing my song, a protest song about how bad it is.
But see, for the parade, they didn't use, I mean, they used instrumental. So.
Yeah.
But it's...
The last thing that I've got to say about parades, by the way, from a high school perspective, if you have never played cymbals in a marching parade, you don't know what actual pain really is. Because we had a cymbal player who couldn't be there, and we needed one. I was playing marching bass drum. Okay, we could get away with not having me because one of the guys could just stack one on top of the other. We'd done that before. Put a couple of pieces of 2x4 in between and, bungee cord it together so that it didn't fall over. We hoped. And I had these big, what were they, 14? I think they were 14-inch. And I had them. And they had leather straps to wrap around your hand. And, I would carry them. And I would clang them every once in a while with the beat that needed. And then when the guys needed it from the snare drum line, I had to hold them out in front of me, in front of them, so that they could hit them and march backwards. So I looked like cymbal players, because, we're still on the same feet. We look like we're out of step even though we're backwards, but oh my God, trying to hold your hands up while you're carrying these metal cymbals and they're being whacked on. They weren't trying to be nice to me either. But that's a workout beyond anything that you could ever expect. I do not recommend.
Nope. I was color guard. I was too. I didn't like the thought of having march and play at the same time. I did my first year in college, but during marching season, I was doing a little flag thing.
I wanted to be a majorette with my schools, but my grades weren't high enough. So they said, no, you can't do any of the extracurricular stuff that you want to do. But if they had put me in that, they might have given me an incentive to keep my grades up. It's punish the kid for not being good enough by not letting them do the one thing that they want to do, which might have... I took baton twirling back when I was 6, 7, 8, and 9. So I could do some of the stuff that the majorettes could do. Can't do that anymore, but I can still do some of the twirling. And I was really upset because I sat down. I was about 6 years old. It was Christmas with the Santa Claus parade back in Ontario. And there goes my class of baton twirlers and ballerinas. And I looked at my mother and said, why am I not in that? Why was I not in that?
Damn.
I was supposed to have been in that.
So, part of the reason why I really wanted to start over with here and not get away from it and to intersperse civilian life compared to military life, as Brigid pointed out, she's not heard of, and I want you to kind of go a little bit further into this, that there had been repercussions, internal military repercussions, for how these folks had misbehaved.
Nope, I haven't. And I've been, peeping out military.com and Stars and Stripes and, checking around. And as far as I know, nobody's been reprimanded for it at all.
Nope, me neither.
So
I've got friends that are in the military. I haven't heard a single peep. I
I've
have
seen
heard
a
about
lot
them
of
getting lobster and steak on the Monday, Tuesday.
Oh, that's glorious. And
but the reception was pretty much positive from, the places where I hang out. They were like, yeah.
and as I recall, aren't there groups, very specific groups, in the various branches that are like trained for doing exactly this kind of pomp and circumstance kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I was an honor guard, yeah. Um, but this may be related to the lack of discipline or whatever. Going off kind of on a tangent, but it is related. There are about it's about a 50-50 split of people wanting to resign your commissions now.
Woof.
Yeah, this has come out within like the last 3 or 4 days, but yeah, people are so disgusted with this regime that they're wanting to resign their commissions and leave the military.
You're not really allowed to leave in the middle of your committed term, right?
If you're enlisted,
Maybe.
pretty much not, but if you're an officer, you can resign your commission. But if you came in under any kind of educational arrangements, then you would have to pay back whatever money for school.
Oof.
Like if you went to, dental school or whatever, and the military paid your way to go through that and commissioned you, then you would have to pay them back for that.
Would you need to remain in for a specific amount of time after that for that to be basically considered a wash?
hmm I mean, it's like if you, like, suppose you went to, dental school and they paid for it, they would commission you as a captain, and you might have, like a 4 year or a 6 year obligation to them.
Okay. Okay. But if you decided to stay in afterwards, that and then decided that you were going to
Resign your commission. I think you could just do that.
okay. Okay, that's the piece I was kind of wondering about. I was wondering how long it would
hmm
take. It would be how there isn't a you're in for like it's a car loan or something like that for your mortgage or something like that. Okay.
No, it's a set amount of time. If they, like I said, if they commission you, and they may have you, like if you were, say a dentist or a doctor or nurse or something like that, they would commission you as like a captain, and then you would have to give them X amount of years. I think it's like 1 year for every 2 years of school or something like that, but I may have that off a little bit.
I'm sure it's just close enough. I guess it kind of pretty well explains why all the doctors were captains in MASH. I mean, that
Yeah.
would kind of make sense. You get
Yeah.
brought
If,
in
if
because you
you
need
go in
enough
as a doc, yeah, if you go in as a doctor, you're automatically a captain.
because you need the rank to be able to effectively push someone of a lower rank around a little bit by comparison.
I don't know about that. I guess I figured that if you go in as an O3, then you've kind of earned that rank by virtue of your education. Um,
Okay.
I think nurses come in. Did they come in as a second lieutenant, or I can't remember if a nurse is a second or a first lieutenant. Uh, I would have to check because it's been so long since I've been in and had to deal with those folks.
No, that's okay. Oh, and as an aside, by the way, I did look it up. Rizzo from the motor pool that we were talking about before, he was not the
hmm
inspiration in any way for the Muppet rat Rizzo. Apparently, he was from Midnight Cowboy, something like that. Anyway, let's see recurring characters. trying to see nurses. Yeah, it looks like all the nurses were lieutenants, which kind of gives credence. Okay, so that's entirely possible. That makes sense. Anyway,
I couldn't remember if it was a second or a first lieutenant, but yeah.
oh good. So, like I said, kind of being actually on the topic, if anybody was going to be prosecuted for protesting, first and foremost, the most visible ones who are actually at, if you'll pardon the expression right now, ground zero, yeah, the military guys themselves, who also, might I add, were not wearing dress uniform by any stretch of imagination.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that because I would have expected Class A's.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I was sort of like, interesting.
Yes. So, for anybody that's wondering, can you get away with protesting in the military? Guardedly, yes, but you gotta be really good at how you do it. And brother, if anybody knows about precision, it's the Army.
Yeah, it's against regs to show up at a protest in uniform, or to hold any kind of political paraphernalia while you're in uniform. I mean, that's a no-no.
Yeah, so kind of going along with that one, I know I'm still in the military just for a little bit longer.
Okay.
There were some cat calls, I guess is the best way of putting it, during I believe it was the West Point graduation. That was
Are you talking about the Fort Bragg thing?
could have been Fort Bragg, where there were derisive yells of various descriptions at named politicians.
That was at Fort Bragg. Yeah, that should get some people in trouble. Now, with this regime and with Hegsand, whatever you want to call them, in charge, I don't know that there's going to be any. And from what I saw, the people that were in the background were screened to be supportive of the villain and not be overweight and look a certain way and all that. But their behavior was atrocious. And when I was in, if some kind of a political speech had broken out or a rally or something like that, we would have been expected to stand there with a poker face and show no emotion. So laughing or smiling or booing or anything like that would have not been put up with. I mean, at the very least, I would have gotten like an Article 15 punishment, which is where they don't court-martial you or discharge you, but they could bust your rank, or they could confine you for a couple of weeks or whatever, or put you on some really crap duty. But that would not have been tolerated in my unit at all.
So the reason why I wanted to bring that one up, just as we're about to move out of the military part of it all, is to point out that, these kinds of things are, and I hate to word it this way, they're currently being tolerated, where otherwise they should not. Now, do we agree with the guys for protesting being in the parade? Absolutely. We respect them for doing that. But at the same time, if we're going to be fair about it, they shouldn't have been. And same with the guys over there in, I don't want to call it that anymore. What was the name it was changed to?
Fort Liberty.
Thank you. Fort Liberty. And I intend to call it that. Because screw that. Anybody wants to know why, look up what the name that it had before it was changed back again, what it was, and realize, that's probably not such a good thing to have had it for.
I'm going to disagree with you, Shu, because it's not quite the same protest. One of them is a Hatch Act violation, and another is not. So the sloppy parade is not a Hatch Act violation, but the Fort Bragg, Fort Liberty thing was. So we got two different things.
You know what? I concede. You are right, and okay, that's fair. I withdraw the question, Your Honor. So yeah, hey, I am not above being wrong. There are times it happens, and you know, if there's one thing that we've learned doing these shows,
we learn from each other.
Yeah, and if I'm wrong, I want to know because I want to get it right. I'm not gonna every damn time. That's for damn sure. I mean, look at me. I just finished off a tumbler of coffee, and it is currently 1 a.m. local.
Yeah, and the Hatch Act used to be taken so seriously, and some of the feds still take it so seriously that they even ask, is it okay if I go to a protest on my time off in my civilian clothes because I don't want to violate the Hatch Act?
There you go.
Because they're trying to be careful.
Yeah. Once upon a time ago, it was like correct to be conscientious about these kind of things.
Well, once upon a time ago, if you violated the Hatch Act, you could wind up doing some jail time.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So, protests, like I said, in this country are supposed to be protected speech. And protected speech is one of those things that, again, gets misquoted all the time. And I'm sure that we've done it as well. But to the best of my ability of describing it, it is effectively, again, protest speech has to do with complaining, pointing out something that is inherently, quote unquote, wrong, or voicing your displeasure at how events are. Now, this is not an end-all be-all. I am not a legal personality by any stretch of the imagination. But generally speaking, if you are out in public and you want to go ahead and throw the middle finger at the police because you distrust the police, you do not like the police, and there are lots of reasons not to like the police currently. I totally get that. There should not be a reason for the police to come after you for that. Now, legally speaking, that's the way it's supposed to be. We know full well, however, that, quote unquote, in the real world, some of these peoples are bastards. Unfortunately, of course, we know full well that there is the protest that says all cops are bastards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to have to agree with that. But I also have to agree with that. Because there are a number of them who will just get their hackles up because you are not respecting my authority. And then suddenly, you're roughed up one way or another. Some BS charge comes up, and you find yourself in front of a magistrate who says, okay, what is he being charged with? Resisting arrest. Okay, being arrested for what? He was resisting arrest. My dude, that's a secondary charge. What's the original charge? Resisting arrest. Case dismissed. Okay, great. It's you're no longer in court anymore. Great. But you've lost how much time? You had to make a court appearance when? You had to be inconvenienced for what? Reminding the cop that he has no jurisdiction where the middle finger is concerned? And then what? they're still on payroll because they're in court because they're paid to be in court, and you had to take time out of your schedule, maybe get a suit, and show up in order to defend yourself to say, yeah, what was I arrested for? These kinds of bullshit charges are just that. It's bullshit. And it shouldn't happen, but we know full well it does. And there are some jurisdictions where it's the normal course of events, illegal that it might be. So for civilians, it's quite a little bit different. When you're in the military, they will come down on you like a sack of. The expression "a sack of bricks" doesn't exactly have the same sway as what it used to, because they don't use a sack of bricks in cartoons anymore for us. But we all know what that was like. We've seen enough cartoons in our day. But yeah. So we, the public, get harassed for no other reason other than because they can get away with it. Because what's going to happen? How do you sue afterwards? It takes years sometimes, and it takes money that you ain't got. Even very likely with help from groups like, well, who would ACLU would typically have the would want to help out and stuff like that, wouldn't they?
They could.
Yeah, if it was a big enough thing. And therein lies part of the problem. Who looks out for the little guy? So that's why these organized marches are so important. Not just here in the United States and its territories. Well, maybe not all the territories. I don't know how much of the Constitution applies to all the territories that we've got, but all of those countries that also protested on the same day for the No Kings thing, you guys, we love you. It was so much fun, by the way, just as one last aside, to take a look at the map to see what all was available in all the different countries and see places that was not expecting to see No More Kings. Like, for instance, it was kind of cool to see that Italy was on there. France, not so much a surprise, but, you know, considering that the last time the guillotine was used was in the late 70s, I'm not totally surprised that they showed up as having a couple of protest sites. That was good. That was good.
Yeah, there was one where I was at.
I'm sorry. I was about to ask a protest march or a guillotine, because I don't want to play favorites here.
It wasn't so much a protest march as it was a protest party. 2 stages. One of them was live music, and the other one was mostly speakers. And they had the street stopped, and was one of the major streets. People were going up and down, honking, waving flags. I went by it today on the way home from gaming, and it had to have been 10 feet deep, at least 3 to 4 meters deep of people. And that was just the people that were in the park on that side of the road. And they were also on the other side of the road. So, you know, it was huge. And it was one of the smaller protests in this area. And honestly, I'm really glad I have the Ring app for our Ring camera, because it notifies me when there's ice cubes around.
Yeah, there's
And
that.
The closest has been about 3 miles, maybe 2. So yeah, I'm really happy that I went to the march and went to the protests. I'm really happy that I was there. I'm really happy that I was able to participate just by being there. whether I listen to anything, either the music or the speakers, doesn't matter. Just a body being there. People were asking me, I was telling them the truth. You know, I'm an immigrant. I might be the token Canadian. I might have my flag with me, but I still believe in what you guys believe. We need to get Taco out of the White House before he starts forward.
Some of the recent happenings have been hilarious. There was a video going around that was from Coachella Valley, and there was a mariachi band and singing and drumming and things, trying to make sure that the ICE people staying at the hotel can sleep.
Yes, that's actually happening here.
It's hilarious.
They've been giving out the locations of where the ICE people have gone to the hotels for nights. People have been chasing them. And as soon as they know which hotels, out comes the protests. Honking horns and more. And I think the hotels are just shaking their heads. Yeah, we're getting paid for this.
Yep. I'm currently looking up. I'm trying to read simultaneously and keep abreast of what's going on with this all and process everything in my head. I'm looking through the BlueSky feed for Alt National Park Service, because I know that there was a listing at one point that had some kind of a number for. There it is.
Yeah, I follow them too.
According to this post from 6 days ago, and I'm looking at the thread of it all, they are saying this list isn't even complete, too many to name, and honest people would stop reading. Turnout across the country was historic. Drop a shout in the comments if your city showed up. From coast to coast, city streets to small town squares, you showed up and it mattered. Honored to announce, take a check out of this number. According to them, as a low ball at the moment, 12.1 million in attendance.
I've seen up to 15 million.
As a low ball estimate, holy hell.
I can believe it. They had a minimum 13,000 at the one I was at, and the entire South California area was basically littered with protests. And I just went to the nearest one. I could have gone to a lot of other ones. I could have gone to one of the ones in LA, but yeah, not doing that. Not risking myself for that. I mean, I wanna, but I don't wanna.
Yeah, I'm gonna put that link in the show notes, because that whole thread, damn.
Yeah, I've been linking something because of something that you said about speech and being able to say things. And I knew you were going to ask me about Canada's freedom of speech. Eventually, I'm just bringing it up now because I put the notes in ages ago. Basically, in Canada, yes, you have the freedom of association, the freedom of thought, belief, opinion, and expression, including the freedom of the press and other media communications. You do not have the freedom to spout hate speech, anti-Semitic stuff, especially if it can be considered hate speech. You can be held liable for what you said. You can go to jail. You can get in trouble. That's the one problem in the States. People can say whatever they want, and there's no repercussions, or almost no repercussions.
Whereas, as I've understood it here, you are, and again, I'm gonna scare quote this one, allowed to say these things, generally speaking, so long as you do not incite someone to do something because of it. Because by technicality, starting a riot can be considered as an offense if only you, the speaker, influences one other person to act based on what you said.
How many did he influence at the?
It's a number. It is a non-zero number.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that.
And by the way, wow, this is amazing what happens when you start scrolling through BlueSky and take a look at some of the stuff. And I'm not even on the account for HCTV right now. From reposted by Tucker Drake. Brigid, we know Tucker, don't we?
Yeah.
Tucker Drake, who forwarded this one from San Gabriel Valley Tesla protests. Homework. No sleep for ICE. Hilton Garden Inn. Montebello protests tonight, 8 p.m. And gives an address and a phone number. ICE location may change at any time, with information for the place on TripAdvisor and Yelp, and a couple of accounts that are specifically on there. I'm not naming names, or I should say, I'm not naming addresses and the such. But like I said, it's amazing what can pop up every once in a while because of the circles that we all run in. This is well, now.
Oh, really?
You are familiar with this locale?
I think so. I'm learning. I'm learning Southern California. My other half is the one who usually does driving. I've been doing little bits of driving. I cannot do the. You
can't walk a picket line.
No. I can't do the highways. They terrify me. They just terrify me.
That's fair. That's perfectly fair.
I think every time I click on it, instead of giving me more map, it gives me other crap.
Yeah. Okay, and I think it's probably advisable for us to go ahead and put out this little caveat at this point, which makes perfect sense. If you have intentions of going out there, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever jurisdiction you're in, especially here in the U.S., if you're looking to do some kind of formal protesting, please make sure that you are doing it in a way that is as legal as you can. Stay in public. Stay on sidewalks. Stay off of private property. And do not use powered amplification for your voice. Those are the easiest ones, so that you can make sure that they have to really work at getting you for some kind of offense. If you're on a sidewalk, sidewalks are considered public spaces. If you stay off of private property, nobody can say that you were trespassing, even if you weren't trespassed yet, or told to stay off the property. You don't want to stay in the roadway, because then, well, you're not in the designated spot and they could get you for jaywalking, for instance. Or maybe they could get you for I don't know. Oh God, what the hell is the thing for just milling about? Just keep walking. Like
Okay.
a protest thing. Just, walk up the sidewalk, come around, come down the other side, so that you're not just, stationary.
I could technically get to that protest. There are street routes I could go to get there, and I could do a couple of hours.
Yeah, but it said 8 p.m.
It's not where I thought it was. I had the address wrong. It looks like it's just outside of LA or within LA County, and it's by the 60. It's by the 710. That looks like the 710.
That's okay. You know
So
what?
yeah, I could get there and I could join in and I could have some fun, but I'm going to keep my head down.
And that's valid too. One folks didn't realize, you don't have to be out there on the front lines with everybody. That's perfectly valid too. Do what you feel comfortable and what is safest for you. Don't don't think that you're any less a fighter for not being directly there on the front lines. I'm also going to put a
Oh,
link to Tucker's BlueSky in the show notes so that folks can kind of check him out later because Tucker's good people.
yeah. It would take me about an hour, hour and a half to drive there, depending on the road conditions and what routes my GPS takes me on. And but yeah, I could go to that. I could go to that.
And
And you know what? I'm cheering on the people that are doing that to ICE because we don't want ICE in California.
no, I'm pretty sure we don't want them anywhere for the most part.
Well, technically, we want them right along the border, Canadian and Mexican borders, as well as in the airports, but not harassing people on the street, not chasing people down, not arresting Americans and deporting them, not.
Not 200 miles away from ports of entry.
It's technically only supposed to be 100, but yes.
Well, like I said,
And most of California is within the 100 miles, if not all of it.
it's almost like people just don't remember what it was like in Germany in the mid 1930s. Almost.
Somebody did a comparison, and apparently we're week to week to what was going on. I think it was 1918.
I Okay, I'm gonna put this in our host chat because I want you guys to help me out on this one. To take a look at this because I don't know if I should comment on this picture. You see why I'm
That's
hesitating.
yeah, that's misogyny.
Yeah. Well, amongst other things. For those of you that are kind of wondering, okay, what am I vague booking about? There is another post that I found that popped up for me that is a picture of a protest sticker, very specifically protesting the police. I will go as far as to say that it is most assuredly one of these thin blue line / Blue Lives Matter kind of things. I'm not going to describe it any better than that because I don't think it's helpful. Let's just say as much as that political cartoonists are an amazing force for good. Never piss them off.
No. I knew somebody that was a political cartoonist, and he did stuff that was really eyebrow raising and worthy of museum quality. We lost him back in early 2000. Epilepsy, seizure, gone.
Damn it.
Yeah. So yeah, Canada's speech laws, because of the hate speech, you can end up thrown in jail or fined or whatever. And because of that, there is some pause as to what people can say. Nazi sympathizer? No, you're not getting across the border.
And good. And good.
And with what happened to him at the G7 summit, Taco, I think he basically got told off and got told to leave.
I heard some of that. As an
Ooh.
American, I am embarrassed. As an American, I am proud to be a member of the world stage because I hate what the representation of my government was. I love what the world did to them. Or at least the civilized world. Yeah. Anyway,
So shall we get to what's happened in the last day or two?
while we've got a little bit of time left, yeah, I think it's worth making mention to. Finally, it's kind of tough to not because not not so much information before I kind of did a lot of passing out today and napping because trying very hard to catch up on the rest that I'm not getting otherwise because like I said, hot physical activity outside, gonna love it because it's gonna be worse this upcoming week only to be blowing up with notifications over on my phone, which yeah, apologies, Brigid, I was dead to the world at the time when that came through.
Yeah. And it wasn't much of a message. It was just like, oh my fucking God. Yeah.
Yeah. So Io, you brought it, so you can go ahead and you can start it, and then
Um,
Brigid, I'm sure you've got some insight also to kind of go along with it after.
Under the desk news, Rachel Maddow, I believe that's her name, and other news sources, CNN and more, have been reporting that Iran was bombed by the USA. He's also saying that he wants his Nobel Peace Prize, which I don't think he deserves even mentioning that he wants.
Point of order, Your Honor. Did he say Nobel or Nobel?
Yes, whatever.
No, no, no. It's important because I'm expecting that he said Nobel.
I don't know.
I think he's corrected his spelling on that, but don't
Oh,
quote me on
I
that
don't worry about
100%.
it.
But I think,
I'm not worried about his spelling. I'm worried about his speech because I want to know that he actually doesn't know
well, I
what the
think
word does.
I think he put Nobel this time rather than Noble.
But see, I wanted on. All right, we don't use videotape anymore, but I wanted on tape that he actually said it wrong because he's a goddamn moron. I'm sorry, did I
Yeah,
say that
It's
out
by
loud?
truth.
Oh,
It's by truth. It's not. Yeah,
but
damn
sorry.
it.
multiple news reports are saying that Iran was bombed. Um, Other countries are trying to get their ambassadors and diplomats out of Iran. Um, Flights are being organized, all that fun stuff. And he's demanding the Nobel Prize. I've got a whole bunch of links for you to look at. And multiple locations of people in Congress on both sides threatening to impeach him because of bombing Iran without the consent of Congress.
Yeah.
We knew shit was hitting the fan because the pizza index was spiking. We knew shit was going down the line because of the pizza index. When the Pentagon starts ordering pizza, shit's hitting the fan.
Yeah, and that's not hyperbole. That's a real thing.
Nope.
That's a real
That's true.
documented data set.
Yep. And we've had warnings for days. And I'm looking at this and just, if I could have him in the room right here right beside me and he wasn't full of dementia, I would probably be grabbing him by his collar on his jacket and shaking him for being an idiot.
I probably shouldn't suggest that shaking a baby like that would be good for their health, but that probably doesn't need to be stated. Stephanie's also pointed out over here, our prime minister should be throwing the USA out of Diego Garcia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what's wrong with turning it into the G6, for instance?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think they should, and I know that some people are gonna take exception with my view on some of this, and I'm, willing to get smacked around for what I'm going to say. But I think with our jumping in and attacking Iran like we have, that kind of proves their point that maybe they should obtain nuclear weapons for their own protection. We've become the bad guys.
And even at the G7, there was at least 2 other leaders of other countries whispering to each other, and they had their mouths covered so lip readers couldn't get any words. And with their mics dead, nothing was recorded. And you know that they were saying stuff about him because they were looking in his direction.
Well, I mean, we can't be trusted. And if you look at what has been going on in Ukraine, they gave up their nukes because we in the UK had offered Russia had offered security guarantees to where they would not be attacked or anything if they gave up their nukes. Now, in hindsight, I think it was a mistake for them to give up their nukes, because if they still had them, Russia would not be attacking them. So if I apply that same logic to Iran, did we not just prove that they need some deterrence of their own? We attacked them. So did Israel.
And the biggest problem of it all is the whole... I'm sorry, finish off.
And I know that they're not the quote-unquote good guys, and they do have some serious issues there, but still, we provoked this. And I did get into a discussion on BlueSky with another fella, and he's like, well, they've been doing shit to us, since 79 with the hostages and all that. And I'm like, yeah, but if you look before then, we kind of overthrew their government. So, yeah, they were a little pissed at us.
Ooh, Trump's pissed off the Native Canadians, First Nation.
Why did it take that long?
Yeah.
Stephen Crowchild spoke to Trump. He opted to stay on the tarmac for a long conversation with Trump that he hopes will bring more attention to promoting peace, protecting clean water, and other issues key to Canada's First Nations people. Okay, so he tried to represent the First Nations people. Good on him.
Well, I mean, the only thing that I have to add is Iran did say that if we attack them, they would retaliate. And they will. It might not be tomorrow. It might be weeks or months or even years, but they will.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't really say that I would blame them for that.
Anyway, to finish reading the article, when it came to that one individual, I almost didn't stay. I was filled with rage, Crowchild said. I was going to go home because I didn't want to bring any negativity to my people. However, I did consult with close people and advisors, and based on feedback, I stayed, considering that visibility is key and diplomacy is important. instead of war, I chose peace.
The piece that I was going to say is that there is the problem of what's referred to as MAD, mutual assured destruction. It's the piece that kept the Cold War from, well, fortunately not becoming a hot war. The idea that if you go ahead and launch your nukes at me, I'm just going to launch my nukes at you, and then everybody else is going to launch their nukes at everybody else, and then everything goes away. Mutually assured destruction. If somebody steps out of line, the entire planet goes away.
Yep.
I don't like that idea any more than anybody else. Has it proven effective? I feel like I'm in a scene from The Incredibles. Legally, I have to say yes. But also, at the same time, at what cost? It's hard to know because there's so many impossible to answer questions about it all. We can't see every possible eventuality, every possible future timeline. But at the same time, we've now got the small problem of, like was stated, we now have a whole new generation of people in the Middle East who will now have active reason to hate us and plan ahead. I mean, hell, there was a bombing that took place in 1993, shall I remind you, in the basement of the then World Trade Center in New York City, the Twin Towers.
Yep.
In 93, because of the U.S.'s involvement in the Middle East. And where was it specifically that was it Pakistan? Shit, I forget where it was that they were intentionally the idea at the time was to literally bring down the Trade Center by detonating a bomb in the basement and destroying its support structure, thereby having the entire thing come down. Obviously, that didn't happen then. But given 20 years, or...
And I did it.
10, and they did it. They just found a different way. So, what's going to happen now that there are new people who are going to be actively distrustful at the barest of minimums of this country's government? Not just the regime, the government at large. That means us. And what can we really do about it? Other than just hope to hell that we're not going to be around when the repercussion hits.
The United States has just launched the first salvo against a very religious nation.
Yep.
That will use what was done to them as the reason. I don't have the words. I'm remembering a lot of stories from when I was growing up with all of the Persians, people from Iraq and Iran, all the Baha'is who fled the Shiites, and what they went through, what their stories were, what they were able to tell us when they were able to speak English, because not everybody spoke English. And it's not going to be pretty. It might be this year. It might be in 10 years. But the Twin Towers, that will just be a nice little footnote at that point.
Yep, and with all of the government cuts to, security and intelligence and all that, yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't like the fact that you agreed with me, Brigid. I really don't.
Well, I mean, we've all got a target on our backs now, and there's no one doing it. That bell has been rung.
Yep.
And there may even be people here now. We don't know.
Sleeper cells.
Well, I mean, that's what angry staffer was thinking. I had posted something from his Patreon, from his AMA Friday night. And he was saying that the most likely scenario is going to be that, we'll end up bombing Iran, which we ended up doing today. And he worries about that because, according to Angry Staffer, there's probably sleeper agents or sympathizers in the U.S. already, and he says that we're vulnerable to a spiderweb style attack. And for people who aren't familiar with the spiderweb style, it's the same maneuver that Ukraine pulled a couple of weeks ago in Russia, where they had planned the attack and the drones and everything like a year and a half in advance, and then
Supposedly,
who knows? We'll find out when we find out.
yeah. Again, reposted from Tucker's account. Hey, Tucker. Hi. Somebody, David J. Lower. Sure, I'm going with that. Had posted this one. There is always a tweet. It's a screen cap. I'm assuming from Twitter. I refuse to call it anything else because if the letter X is commonly used as a variable and could be literally anything, then the variable is Twitter. From Donald J. Trump. Remember that I predicted a long time ago that President Obama will attack Iran because of his inability to negotiate properly, not skilled. This posting November 10th of 2013.
That didn't age well.
David had posted to go along with it, there is always a tweet.
Yep.
I saw it. I saw the meme. It was back during the debates against Harris. If Kamala wins, only death and destruction await because she is the candidate of endless wars and I am the candidate of endless peace. Says Taco. I like Taco. I like that name. I really do.
Here we go. Spencer Hakimian, Iran State TV. Every American citizen is now a target.
Yeah.
And and apparently there's a new executive order or whatever that has come down and it goes in effect on the 25th. Anyone who is a legal resident of the United States, green card holders, cannot leave the United States. If they leave, they cannot come back. Doesn't matter if they're legal residents. The United States.
Where'd you get this?
I saw it earlier today. Yeah, it's June 25th travel ban.
The thing about it is, even if it's not real, it's believable with how this organization, and I spit in my mouth to be able to say it that way, has done business. Again, spitting in my mouth the whole way through.
I'm not seeing anything on that yet.
I know I saw it.
Just seeing where they added more countries coming in. that they added 36 countries
What, to prevent folks from coming in from?
from other countries here. But I'm not seeing anything about us not being able to leave. I'm looking.
We're going to need to probably check
We're going to
that.
need to, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not finding anything on whitehouse.gov or the NAFSA org.
It's supposed to be the 25th. That's when it's supposed to start.
Well, that's what I'm Googling, and I'm not. Yeah, I'm not finding anything where an EO has been ordered or anything like that. So yeah, we'll have to wait until I can confirm.
Yeah, if nothing else, we'll end up seeing something.
We'll find out.
Yeah, by the time the next show
I'll track it down
comes.
because this specifically affects me. If I cannot leave the United States in order to go visit Canada, then the United States is my prison. And it's not just me, it would be every single other green card holder. Every single other permanent resident.
We'll have to see how this plays out. All right. We got to go ahead. We got to close up shop because if nothing else, I'm having a problem keeping my contacts clear. I guess is the best way to put it. I don't know. I'm blinking and they're, I guess they're kind of a little covered over in like sleep gunk or something, which is a very, very weird thing for me right now. Because normally I don't have this level of fuzziness when I've got my contacts in, unless I'm trying to look at something that's like really, really close up, hence the readers. So we'll go ahead and do that. Io, what last item you got before we get out of here? Oh, that says a lot right there, let me tell you.
I know that the election was rigged. If we had had Harris without any gerrymandering, without any Skylink or computerized voting things, if we'd had Harris, we wouldn't be this way. I'm very scared for the world.
That's fair. Brigid, what do you got?
I'm just gonna tell people that if they do go out to any protests or anything, to make sure that you do follow the laws and things. But maybe protest in a way to show ridicule. Maybe, show up in a pink tutu or, like a clown or like a chicken or something. And, if you're going to protest, try to at least get some digs in and make it funny because mockery seems to really get under these people's skin.
There's something to be said for that.
You get your friends to do it too.
Yeah.
Because could you imagine, being at a protest and having some police people show up and ICE people show up and then, you're all dressed up like chickens and you break out into the chicken dance? That would make for some good videos. Yeah?
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I just did a quick search for No Kings protest signs, And one of the first ones that come up for me is the Routers news agency. Oh my God, just such a huge page of pictures. Holy smoke. I'm just amazed.
There's some really creative people out there. They're funny, they're clever.
Yeah.
I wish I had that kind of creativity, but I just don't.
Well, for what it's worth, I think one of the best ones in the first 5. Big one in big red letters. I've got 99 problems and Trump is all of them.
Yep.
You know what, you folks, well done. There is an ancient Chinese curse. May you live in interesting times. Brother, have we ever gone through them. The beginning of the 21st century. Seriously, think about that a second. It is the first quarter of the 21st century. A century that held such incredible promise. 30 years before the century changed over, what were we looking at? We were looking at science fiction that said people would be wearing effectively tin foil and lame outfits and jumpsuits. We were worried about alien species coming to visit us so that they could suck dry the planet of its water. A resource that's easily locatable in the cosmos, we now realize. We have worries about who's going to go ahead and take over the government. Because at least one organized religion did for a little while. We have people killing each other for no other reason other than they think that their book club is better than somebody else's. And yet, here we are, having to deal with the fallout of all of that and more. Hell, in the 80s, we had to be dealing with deregulation of industries, only to find those industries were killing people. Sometimes slowly, sometimes almost imperceptibly, until people actually came forward and said, "Hey, I've got the information that you need to prove that this is actually bad." And then people had to say, "Well, you know what? These people need to be protected now. We need to put that into a law." Because people coming forward and doing the right thing by tattling when others are doing things wrong and covering up for themselves? Why is this even something that we have to argue about? When people are doing bad things, there's no reason to hide it. There's no reason to protect it. When people are doing bad things, it needs to stop. It needs to be stopped, and there needs to be a mechanism for it. The mechanism is people. People of conscience. We can't all do that. We can't all be the one to go out there and haul somebody by their back of their shirt and drag him in front of the magistrate and say, "He knows what he did." We can't all be that person. But we can all fight for it together. As tough as it is. Because I say this from the standpoint of somebody who doesn't want to fight anymore because I'm tired. I'm tired, I'm angry, I'm frustrated. But I do what I can. This is what I can do. I can talk. I can keep people somewhat informed. I can help them make sense of what it is that they're feeling. And God damn it, I can make sure that people understand that just because they can't walk a picket line or they can't speak with a voice like I can and they don't have people around them all the time, that they are not without value. You are not without value. Because if you did not have value, groups would not be trying to keep you from exercising exactly that. Talk. Let people know how you feel. And most of all, do what you can inside of the means that you have in the safest way that makes you the most comfortable. And if the middle of that Venn diagram brings you right back here, cool. We'd love to have you. Please take care of yourselves. With that, we're going to close up shop. Thank you all for being with us tonight. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives and you got something to think about for the week ahead. As always, over in the chat, Stephanie, thank you for being with us. I know there have been a couple of others that have been with us hanging out tonight. Whoever you are out there, thank you. And most appropriately, all of you bots that have been out there, but not recently, thank you. And all you bots, you can just piss right the hell off. But thanks for not showing up. Maybe, because, I mean, when they were showing up, it meant that we were doing something that was a little bit more worthwhile to a certain degree.
Yeah, got some attention. Yeah.
Io, thank you. Stay safe, stay careful, and stay cool.
Oh, Monday we should be able to get our AC fixed. At least the arrangements for it.
That'll help. Cool. Thanks for being. Brigid, it's been a little while. And reminding you that I'm going to give you the freebie square in the middle of the bonus card of Screw You, Mother Nature, and all associated parts. Who would you like to go ahead and single out tonight?
I am going to single out these MAGA evangelical asshats, especially people like Russell Vaught, Pete Kegstand, Mike Fuckabee. They can all go fuck themselves. And the reason why is they have been putting this into the felon's ear to bomb Iran because they want to bring on the fucking apocalypse. That is their whole thing. So they really need to go fuck themselves.
That's fair. You take care of yourself, huh? Thanks for being able to be here.
I will do my best. I will probably need some pharmaceutical assistance.
You're not the only one.
Not by a long shot. So, thank you all, as always. If you'd like to be joining us sometime in the future, please feel free over here on YouTube. If you'd like to send us a message one way or another, maybe chime in, maybe add a little something for future ideas for shows, or get in contact with us. Quickest and easiest way is probably over on the Discord server. We've got it linked over in the show notes. I will update those as I can. It's probably going to be a day late because I'm having a hard time seeing anything, and I think probably I just need to get away from everything for a while. But we'll be here, and we will do our damnedest to keep being here and be as reasonable as possible. So until the next time we're together, as always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And my lady, as always, 20 years on. I don't know how, but I am still in love. Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. You dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone, as always, good night.